So I honestly have been going back and forth on whether or not I would go in depth on each lead generating platform. And I decided that I will let you decide in the comments which platform you would want me to do a dedicated video on. So here are some of the platforms and channels you can use to drive leads to your online business: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Twitter, blogging, podcasting, email, WhatsApp, and text messages. So some of these are free to use, and some of these require that you pay for some sort of hosting or software in order to use those channels. All you need to do is ensure that the channels or the platforms that you choose are the same channels or platforms that your ideal clients or customers use as well. And for really optimizing content creation and marketing, choose at least one platform where the shelf life of the posts is longer. So, for example, when you post on Facebook, the shelf life of that is a few hours. Same thing with Twitter, very, very short shelf life. However, if you do a YouTube video or a podcast or a blog post, those things tend to last months and sometimes even years. So I would recommend that at least one of your platforms or channels is one that has posts that would live longer online. That would be to your benefit, right? Now, I know this would be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not going to say only choose one platform or two platforms or don't choose all of the platforms. What I'm going to say is, you know yourself. You know the time that you have. You know your content creating capabilities, and therefore you are the only person that really could decide how many social media platforms or how many digital channels you can consistently show up on for an extended period of time. So if you know that you're doing this full time, then by all means have 3 or 4 or 5 platforms that you're utilizing. If you're working full time and you're doing this on the side, choose one or two. Or if you just have free time like that and you have the capacity despite the other things that you may also be working on in your life, you choose the amount of social media platforms or digital channels that makes sense for you, that you know that you could handle. Okay? And you also want to think about, as I mentioned before, the consistency level that you are able to maintain. And then once you figure out the consistency level that you can maintain, you need to match that with the platform that demands that same level of frequency. So what I mean by that is, if it is you know that you could only handle posting or creating one video a week or one podcast episode a week or something that you write a written post a week, then you're going to choose the longer form platforms that would facilitate that medium. If it is you have a lot more time and you have a greater affinity for, say, creating graphical posts, and you have the time to do that on a regular basis, then by all means choose Instagram. Or if you know, well, you could write really well and it's not a big problem to write something every other day, then choose LinkedIn. And if you have a lot to say but you have, like, short quick anecdotes that you could share every day, then choose Twitter. You see what I'm saying? Like, it has to be a match between the frequency of posts that is required for the particular platform and then the consistency level that you are able to match, and also of course integrating the fact of where your customers are. So even if you don't have time for Twitter, but that's where your customers are, then you may need to find some workaround in terms of that, and you may need to sit down and plan out all your tweets for the week and then just schedule them out by the day, something like that, right? You can also work around that by batch creating your content if it is that you are required to show up on a platform which may not have been your first choice based on the ability for you to keep up that level of consistency. Another thing that is really important is, what do you say, or what type of content you create, and that all goes back to knowing who you are talking to, and that will guide your marketing and it will guide your messaging. So you really need to do some deep work into your ideal customer and creating that avatar for your business, because that is what's going to help really conceptualize the content that you need to create to attract those customers or clients that you want to have for your business. So once you figure out, what type of platforms you need to be on, who you're talking to, and of course what you're going to say to them, the last thing is that you need like a hub where all of these leads that you would be generating using these different digital channels or social media platforms, they need to come to one centralized place. Which brings me to the one thing that all online businesses need, which is what I talk about in this video coming up next.